General Hospital spoilers tease that one of the most quietly but profoundly oppressive events is unfolding in Port Charles, and the person behind it all is none other than Brennan, who is using his influence in the WSB to set up a dangerous and high-risk strategic shift. While the troubles surrounding Carly's poisoning are still unresolved, and all signs point to a name from the past, Jerry, Brennan sees that it is time to take action. But instead of deploying a seasoned agent or launching a massive manhunt, he chooses an unexpected path, using Jerry's own niece, Josslyn, as a trump card. This is not a typical plan but a cold, emotionally and mentally oppressive move, carefully calculated to break down Jerry's defenses completely. In Brennan's eyes, no one could infiltrate Jerry's life more effectively than Josslyn, who Jerry has always considered to be beyond suspicion. To turn her into the perfect tool, Brennan has overseen her training from start to finish, with the strict help of Vaughn, who has been tasked with pushing her beyond her physical and psychological limits. Josslyn, initially believing she is serving a great cause, has yet to realize the depth of the plot she is being pushed into. She feels proud to be trusted, to be trained, to be chosen. But beneath that exterior lies a cold setup, where she is no longer just a normal person, but a pawn in Brennan and Jerry's game. She doesn't yet know that her first mission will not be against a stranger, but against the very man she once considered family, the one who might have masterminded Carly's poisoning, the one who might be returning with an even more horrific scheme than anything she's seen before. Meanwhile, Brennan continues to show his ruthlessness in how he controls the entire plan. He demands that Vaughn update him on the training situation every hour, not missing any details. Every move Josslyn makes is under his control. For Brennan, emotions, doubts, or family bonds are just variables to be eliminated in order to ensure absolute success. He doesn't just want to bring down Jerry, he wants to change the game in Port Charles, proving that the WSB can control everything without leaving a trace. But this plan is pushing Josslyn into a dangerous gray area. She is no longer the naive young girl on the sidelines of these battles, she is stepping into the eye of the storm, with a singular, intense desire to find the person who harmed her mother and bring justice with her own hands. All the signs point to a name Josslyn never thought would be associated with the word enemy, Jerry. The uncle who once seemed like family, who was a familiar part of her childhood memories, has now become a symbol of betrayal, of darkness threatening everything she holds dear. This creates a deep internal conflict within Josslyn, between familial love and bitter truth, between sweet memories and harsh reality. But she knows that if she doesn't act, if she doesn't face it, there will be more people like Carly who will suffer from someone like Jerry. That's when a transformation in Josslyn begins to unfold. She is no longer completely ruled by emotion, but begins to act with clarity and strategy. Adjustments in her behavior, in her thinking, and in her relationships are happening quietly but powerfully, as an essential part of her journey to becoming a true fighter. Brennan may have trained her with his own goals in mind, but it's her personal experience, the pain of loss, the rage, and her protective spirit for her family, that makes Josslyn more formidable than any agent. However, as a new disaster begins to form, Josslyn realizes that time is no longer on her side. Signs point to Jerry returning to Port Charles with an even more dangerous plan, possibly involving an attack on the security system, threatening the lives of many, and plotting to destroy critical relationships in the city. With the entire city on the brink of chaos, Josslyn realizes that she is no longer in this fight just for revenge, she is in a battle for survival to prevent a tragedy. This new strength in Josslyn doesn't just come from physical power or skills learned during her training. It comes from her ability to accept the painful truth, to face things that no one else is brave enough to carry. She knows that confronting Jerry is not simply about taking down a criminal. It's a journey to reclaim control over her destiny, to break old boundaries, and to decide the person she will become, no longer the shadow of another, no longer the one being protected, but the one who makes choices, executes them, and lives with the consequences. As the tension builds, Josslyn must also battle with the internal conflicts she once avoided. Will she be able to hurt someone who was once family? Can she overcome the struggle to put justice above all emotions? And if Jerry is truly behind everything, will she be able to look him in the eye, no longer scared, no longer wavering, but firmly take the final action? The answer is unclear, but what is certain is that a big shock is coming, not just for Jerry, but for all of Port Charles, because Josslyn is no longer the girl she once was. She is the one who dared to rise from the darkness, dared to step into the fight for those she loves, and is ready to risk everything to protect them. In a world where everyone wears a mask, she chooses to face the truth, no matter how brutal it may be. And that is what makes her the most dangerous of all. Josslyn is in a state of utter shock as she faces the brutal truth about her first mission assigned by the WSB, a mission unlike anything she had ever imagined, and more painfully. The target is none other than her own flesh and blood, Jerry. When Brennan reveals the plan, when the true nature of the operation is exposed, a silent shockwave spreads in Josslyn's mind, dislodging all the emotions she thought she could control. She had been ready to be a part of the organization, confident that she could serve some great ideal. But nothing could have prepared her for this, becoming a tool to overthrow a member of her own family. This is not just a mission. It's a strategic betrayal, disguised by noble ideals and grand purposes. Brennan, calm and rational, sees it as the perfect move, a play that Jerry would never suspect. But to Josslyn, it is a living nightmare. She feels as though she is being torn from herself, forced to choose between loyalty to those she loves and the mission she is now bound to, one that she can hardly refuse. The adjustments happening within Josslyn are not only about tactics or psychology, but a powerful inner transformation. As she is forced to reevaluate all the moral values and right or wrong boundaries she had once believed in. The big question echoes in her mind: can taking down a loved one be seen as justice? Or is this just another form of exploitation, a new kind of manipulation, colder and more insidious? And it is in this chaos that Josslyn begins to feel herself losing control. No longer able to distinguish between actions taken for the ideal, and the invisible pressure imposed by the WSB and Brennan. With each passing hour, the situation grows more tense. The shock of the mission's true nature continues to weigh heavily on Josslyn, and she realizes that if she moves forward, if she accepts the plan, there will be no turning back. No more carefree youth, no more days spent worrying only about Carly or her friends, no more normal life. She will become part of a system where personal feelings are placed behind strategic interests, where every action is calculated with one ultimate goal: control, destroy. Neutralize the threat, even if that threat bears the Jack's name. And as Brennan continues to push for progress, while Jerry is thought to be returning to Port Charles with a more dangerous plan than ever before, Josslyn feels as though she is being pushed into the eye of a storm, where everything is slipping beyond her control. She is no longer just an agent assigned to a task. She is someone who carries the weight of life, loyalty, and personal wounds into battle. And in that moment, she must decide: will she become the cold weapon Brennan wants her to be, or will she rewrite her own fate in a way no one expects? The truth is, it is no longer just a mission. This is Josslyn's moment, the moment when she must face not only Jerry but also herself. And when the decision is made, Port Charles will never be the same again. A new, chaotic, and tense chapter is unfolding in Port Charles, as Jason and Sonny quietly begin to execute a drastic action plan aimed at attacking Brennan, the one behind a series of dangerous schemes, and the one who lured Josslyn into a deadly game she never chose. The strategic adjustments from both Jason and Sonny are not only born from their loyalty to Carly, or their anger at what Josslyn is being drawn into, but also as a reaction to a global manipulative system Brennan represents, a system ready to exploit even familial bonds to achieve its goals. Jason and Sonny's plan is quickly set in motion, in silence, with chilling precision, because both know that Brennan is not an opponent who can be defeated by ordinary means. They are fighting against a force deeply embedded within the government, with countless layers of protection, and any wrong move could cost not just Josslyn, but all of Port Charles, dearly. However, What none of them expect is a shocking new choice being shaped behind the scenes. Josslyn will be the one asked to eliminate not just Jerry, but Brennan as well. When this truth is revealed, a massive shock explodes inside Josslyn. Not only is she required to face a loved one, but now, she must become the final blow to both opposing sides. Jerry, the blood relative returning with dangerous plans. Brennan, the one who trained her, made her a tool for a war she no longer understands which side she is on. Two faces, two systems. Two threats, but both are linked to Josslyn more deeply than anyone could imagine, making her the focal point of an unprecedented conflict. As Jason and Sonny direct their full force at Brennan from the outside, using their connections, resources, and ruthlessness when needed, Josslyn must face the battle within herself. On one side is loyalty to family, where Jerry was once a relative, once a part of her childhood memories. On the other is gratitude mixed with rebellion toward Brennan, the one who taught her to be strong, but also pushed her into the role of an unwilling assassin in a brutal political game. With each passing day, the situation grows more dangerous. Jerry is drawing closer to Port Charles, bringing with him a plan to assassinate or destroy some power structure he was once removed from. Brennan, feeling the pressure from Jason and Sonny's encirclement, begins to intensify the pressure on Josslyn, forcing her to act swiftly and decisively. And at that moment, a profound change begins to take shape within Josslyn, when she realizes she is no longer a pawn in anyone's game. If she must strike against both men who have meant so much in her life, she will be the one to decide how it ends, not to serve anyone, but to protect what is left of herself and those she loves. The battle is no longer about following orders, it is about taking back control of her destiny from those who thought they could manipulate her from the shadows. And so, as Jason and Sonny prepare for the final strike, as Jerry begins to appear on the radar, as Brennan feels his power slipping away with each hour, Josslyn stands at the crossroads of three forces. No longer the girl who was led, but the one holding the key to determine it all. And in that decisive moment, only one choice, one shot, one nod, one turn of the back, will forever alter the course of Port Charles. For this is not just an attack on two enemies, but the explosion of a new generation, where Josslyn no longer accepts being led but begins to write her own story. Josslyn, from an emotional and idealistic young girl, now stands on the fragile line between justice and darkness. After all the losses, betrayals, and the ongoing inner struggles, she begins to act not with hesitation, but with the instincts of someone who has been pushed to the ultimate limit. The story is no longer about whether she is a victim or a trained agent, it is about Josslyn stepping into a chain of actions, methodically bringing death to those she no longer flinches at seeing. A new disaster is taking shape, not from external enemies, but from the terrifying transformation within Josslyn herself. When Brennan and the WSB system push her into a confrontation with Jerry, they fail to consider the consequence, that when someone like Josslyn is forced to act against those she was once close to, all her internal moral boundaries will begin to collapse piece by piece. The first death may come out of necessity, a survival reflex. But soon, each subsequent death becomes a tool to maintain control, to protect herself from feeling exploited, manipulated, or betrayed. Every death Josslyn causes, no matter the reason, pushes her further away from the image she once had in the eyes of her loved ones. She becomes calm, cold, no longer shedding tears for the harsh decisions she must make. And it is this that ignites a new explosion within the entire system, from family, friends, to the organizations that once watched, controlled her. No one can believe that the girl who once fought for justice, who cried for losses, is now capable of acting without fear, like a perfectly programmed assassin. But what is even more terrifying is that Josslyn begins to feel familiar. She no longer dreams of the return of peaceful days, no longer hopes that after all of this, she will return to who she once was. Instead, she learns to live with the darkness, to see it as part of herself, not because she wants to, but because she no longer has a choice. In a world where everyone has their own agenda, where goodness is easily exploited, Josslyn realizes that she herself must become more ruthless than anyone else. if she wants to survive and protect what's left. This transformation not only shocks those who were once by her side, like Carly, Jason, and Sonny, but it opens a bigger question for all of Port Charles. Does anyone truly understand Josslyn anymore? Is there anyone strong enough to stop her now that she has grown accustomed to using violence to solve conflicts? And if Josslyn continues down this path, is she still the victim who was hurt? Or has she become the very nightmare Port Charles feared would rise? A new Josslyn is taking shape, not the one who was controlled, but the one who now holds the power to decide the fate of others. Even if that means losing the last bit of humanity in her heart. And with every action she takes, a new blood-soaked chapter is being written, forever changing her life and the future of Port Charles.